it was really painful to look in those mirrors because I could not see that alignment. I could not see that reflection I needed to see. I needed to see me in that reflection. I wasn't seeing that. I don't feel like I'm in the wrong body now. I feel like I have an amazing reflection that reflects me, and that makes me happy and makes me feel whole and the woman I am.
And cross-sex hormones to children as young as 8 years of age.
Who are you supposed to give puberty blockers to? Old people? Puberty blockers issue drives me crazy because puberty blockers are not just for transgender children, they're for children in general. If a child is going to experience the onset of a hormone rush, that rush of hormones that attacks the body and just changes that body, if they are not socially and mentally ready and available for that rush of hormones, or what we call puberty, we have medical treatments to pause that. It works well. We know how to treat gender dysphoria. So much so that we even have 300 pediatric clinics that can do this type of work. That is awesome, because there are more than 300 children who are experiencing gender dysphoria at this moment. Hello, and thank you for joining me. It's Brandi's World, and I'm Brandi Beckett. Today, we are taking another look at the podcast Generation Indoctrination, the Transgender Battle. It's a podcast that is brought to us by the good folks at the Christian Post, and it is hosted by a Christian Post journalist named Brandi Showalter, and for season 2, they brought on a minister, this guy Jeff Myers. We're in season 2, episode 2. I think we're about maybe halfway through the episode. I'm not sure how far into the episode we are, and we'll see how far we'll get. We're in for a treat, folks, so buckle in. It's going to be a rough ride. We have to listen to what these people are saying, because we have to know what we're up against. And there's some misinformed people who are really not happy with the existence of transgender people. And these people have platforms, so let's listen to a platform about transgender children here. Okay, here we go.
The medicalization of gender identity proceeds from the assumption that there are people for whom biological sex is not relevant.
I'm just going to cut in. You have to go back to the previous episode where we were looking at the first part of this episode, and we're not going to rehash that. We're just going to jump right in and listen to where we left off. And they're talking about medical treatments for gender dysphoria. So let's hear what they have to say.
They have been, quote, born in the wrong body, unquote. If this is true, then any medical treatment protocol that alters hormone levels, removes sex organs, or adds on artificial body parts must be seen as morally sound, potentially life-saving, and ethically necessary. But to believe that some people were truly born in the wrong body, one must presuppose that maleness and femaleness are mostly social categories, not physical ones, and that the sexual dimorphism of humans is essentially irrelevant.
Okay. So what he's doing there is they are talking about gender, but they're referring to sexual characters, right? So they're talking about sexual characters and not necessarily gender, because your gender doesn't necessarily have to align with your sexual characteristics. Gender is your identity from within. And yeah, it's not based off of your sexual dimorphism, and the difference between the sexual dimorphism in our species does not necessarily talk to your gender identity. Okay, so let's hear what else they have to say.
In the gender ideology framework, male and female are categories assigned at birth, and presumably, doctors can get it wrong. The trans activist phrase, born in the wrong body, does not say that there is something wrong with the body, but that the body itself, as a whole functioning organism.
Okay, they're kind of bringing up an argument from like a few decades ago, really, when that was a statement that we would say, born in the wrong body. I don't really hear people using that statement that much. Often, at least I wouldn't use that statement, born in the wrong body. Because that is making gender about your body and not about your inner self and how you see yourself. How you see yourself may not align with what's in that mirror, the social mirror, the mirror on the wall. And that's where the gender dysphoria comes in. But they're not talking about the gender dysphoria misalignment between what you see on the wall or in the social mirror and what you see inside yourself. They're just saying that you should just look to that mirror, and that mirror has an assignment for you, and live up to that mirror assignment. Don't look inside. So, wrong body, kind of like I look inside myself and I see pretty close to what I see now in the mirror on the wall and in the mirror in the social mirror, right? I see that in myself, and I close my eyes and I think about my inner self, my inner core of me, and it's pretty close. So yay, yes, I I am aligning my gender identity with my gender expression. But they just want to talk about the expression, and they're all like, yo, you have to live by your expression, not by your identity. It's like the tail dragging the dog around. It should be the other way around. It's your identity from within that dictates your outer body. So kind of you can see where wrong body, because you're looking at it, and if you look in the mirror, like before I started my gender dysphoria treatment, oof, the mirror was a scary thing to look at. And for many months and years, looking in those mirrors socially and on the wall, I, before these treatments, before I got all the treatments that really got me close to my gender identity in my expression, it was really hard. It was really painful to look in those mirrors because I could not see that alignment. I could not see that reflection I needed to see. I needed to see me in that reflection, and I wasn't seeing that. But I never really used the term the wrong body. I just, let's just rearrange this body a little bit. Let's work with this body, and let's try to pull out some more of me. And we had treatments that could do that. My goodness, look at me. I started my transition when I was 42 years old. So this face didn't always look like this. This face was helped out with medical treatments. This chest area didn't always look like this. We augmented my chest body to fit form more of that mirror I needed to see. Does that make sense? Because, that's what I'm trying to reshape this body, mold it into something that resembles me. But I don't really say wrong body. But if you want to say wrong body, okay, wrong body. I was in the wrong body. I guess wrong body, but I don't feel like I'm in the wrong body now. I feel like I have an amazing reflection that reflects me, and that makes me happy and makes me feel whole and the woman I am. So, okay, we'll hear some more of their argument.
Somehow wrong. As we saw in the introduction, a rapidly growing number of people are seeing themselves as wrong in the way their bodies are made. The United States is the most permissive nation when it comes to the use of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgery to treat minors. Whereas most Western countries have 1 to 3 gender clinics treating gender dysphoria, there are more than 60 pediatric gender clinics and 300 other clinics in the United States that administer puberty blockers.
in the whole United States, was like 350 million people, and the number of those people who are under 18 is a good portion of them. So it sounds like a lot. 300 clinics for children. It's a large country with a lot of decent sized cities in it. So you need large pediatric systems that can handle all things that are going to happen to children, right? Not every child is cis. People exist as transgender, and people were once, younger, smaller people. Yes, transgender people exist both in the small, young version and the older, larger versions. We're fully human, so yeah, so we exist at all stages. Does that make sense to you?
And cross-sex hormones to children as young as 8 years of age. Such treatment is based on the gender ideology supposition that so-called wrong bodies can be made right through medical treatment. Let us talk more about what this treatment involves. What is called gender-affirming care, as part of the natural course of treatment, employs high-powered pharmaceutical drugs and even surgeries to help individuals who lack strong identification with their biological sex feel more mentally comfortable with a new identity. Gender-affirming care is practiced on minors despite the consensus among neuroscientists is that the lobes of the human brain do not stop developing until the mid-20s.
All right, what kind of argument is that? Of course, everyone knows that the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until the early to mid 20s. What does that have to do with treating someone's gender dysphoria? You saying that a person doesn't recognize themselves before they fully have a prefrontal cortex? No, it's not the case. Ask yourself this: at what age did you know your gender identity? Right? If you question it, probably pretty young. You're pretty young if you question it. I didn't question mine, so I'm not a good example. But if you question your gender identity, you can find out pretty early. I mean, ask yourself at any time in your life, what is my gender identity? And if you look inside, most people, it will align with their gender assignment, because like more than 98% of the population cis, and cis people, their gender identity and their gender expression and their gender performance and their gender label assignment are all in accord with each other. So yeah, anytime in your life as a cis person, ask yourself the easiest question in the world: what is my gender? Does it align with my assignment and my expression and my performance? Right? I challenge my cis friends. I ask them this, yeah, ask yourself that question, and they're all like, yeah, it's an easy question. It's not even a question should be asked, because it's just, yeah, they understand themselves, and they understand that it all aligns. Well, guess what? Not everyone's identity and expression are in a line. Not everyone's gender assignment isn't aligned with their identity, because the identity comes from within. And so there's only and literally one person who can know that gender identity, and that is the self. Yourself is the only one that can know your gender identity. Right? Okay, so let's continue.
Of the 11 clinical studies where children were referred for gender dysphoria, between 74% and 88% grew out of it by the end of their adolescence. Yet what is most egregious is that activists insist that even young children and prepubescent youth can know that they have...
Grow out of what? What do you mean they grow out of? They grow out of what? It may not be that someone grows out of something. Maybe they're also identifying people who are fluid and who are somewhere on the spectrum that's not putting them into a box A or a box B. How do you identify those people when you're talking about those who grow out of it, whatever that means. So yeah, children may identify young, and their concept of themselves is like one box of gender, and then a little bit later they're like, well, I thought the box included all of this other stuff, but you know what, this all this other stuff that is me, it doesn't really fit into that box, so I'm kind of over here on the spectrum. Doesn't mean I'm in my assigned box, I'm just not in the gender box that I'm not in either one of those boxes, as someone might say. They'll be like, I am not of the binary system. That's why people call themselves not binary. So I'm sure that some of those children that you have in that statistic, and who even knows where you got that statistics from, 11 studies. How many studies does a Christian Post put out there? How many studies do these Christian organizations that have a bend to already give you the results they want to give you send out their own studies and surveys and column studies? Because they're trying to count that as well. If you want to look at the statistics, like there are the statistics out there that show that gender dysphoria treatment is one of the most successful treatments that we have. Like, so many of the people are satisfied with the gender dysphoria treatment when they go through it. I think it's less than 0.2% of regret. Look at the regrets of the surgeries for anything else: back surgery, knee surgery, shoulder surgery, plastic surgeries, rhinoplasty, Botox. All of those surgeries have higher regret levels than any of the treatments for gender dysphoria. So they're going to try to bend and skew these little studies that they dig out and try to find this little statistic that they like and hold it up for you and say, "Ooh, look how scary this is. People changed their mind, or people were wrong. Ooh." You can do that for any medical treatment, any type. Not every single medical treatment has 100% success rate. In fact, none of them do. So any type of medical treatment you can look at and find the individuals that it did not work as they expected it to. So yeah, you're going to find, absolutely you're going to find those who dissent from the vast majority, who prosper from the treatments and who make their lives whole from the treatments, or at least better and more whole from the gender dysphoria treatments that we have. Goodness, people.
The wrong body, and that their gender identity struggles can be resolved through risky experimental medical procedures. Trans ideologues routinely claim that these procedures are necessary to curb self-destructive behavior,
They're not experimental. We've been doing it a long time. Not experimental.
including the possibility of suicide. These treatments allow patients, including young children, to alter their endocrine systems with hormone blockers, followed by synthetic opposite-sex hormones.
Puberty blockers issue drives me crazy, because puberty blockers are not just for transgender children, they're for children in general. If a child is going to experience the onset of a hormone rush, that rush of hormones that attacks the body and just changes that body, if they are not socially and mentally ready and available for that rush of hormones, or what we call puberty, we have medical treatments to pause that, to slow that down. I know this because when I was a kid, one of my cousins, we'll call him Billy, Billy was about to experience a masculine puberty when he was like 9 years old. And the family's like, whoa, he's not going to be good as a person going through that puberty. He's not ready for that puberty that early, that young. He's not ready for that puberty. It's not going to be good for him. So they talk about puberty blockers. That's where I first heard of them. And think about it. If a child gets onto puberty blockers before puberty, the medicine is intend it to. So you're going to see children getting puberty blockers at young ages because it's dumb to give it to older children who have already gone through puberty, right? Does that make sense? If you're going to block something, we have medications to block and slow down and pause the onset of a puberty for cis and for trans kids. And they're going to make it sound like, ooh, it's scary because we give it to young children. Yeah, who are you supposed to give puberty blockers to? Old people? No, that's what they're for. And if a child is about to experience an onset of a hormone rush, that is not going to be good for them. Oh my goodness, if I could have stopped that androgen rush of puberty I got when I was like 16 years old, if I could have paused and blocked that, and then later introduced a puberty or hormone rush that was going to mold and shape my body to more reflect my identity, would have been amazing. It would have saved me from probably most of this facial feminization surgery, if not all of it. Probably would have saved me from this breast augmentation surgery. Probably would have saved me from a lot of anguish, hurt, pain, discomfort. And we could do that for other people. There are transgender people right now who are children and who are going to grow up to be adults. If they get the social transition that they require and need, they will be a healthier child for it. I will leave it up to their families and medical doctors in their expert opinions of what age they should get both the puberty blocker and then later a hormone that better suits their body. That is a medical thing between their doctors, and we as a government should not be stepping in and squashing that relationship between the patient and the doctor and their ability to treat their health care. That should be a priority. So we shouldn't even know about these medical treatments for children. We should just know, hey, this child has been experiencing gender dysphoria. Hey, we got treatments for this child's gender dysphoria. This child is in a better place now. That's what we should know about gender dysphoria, that, hey, it is demonstrated that it works. It works well. We know how to treat gender dysphoria. So much so that we even have 300 pediatric clinics that can do this type of work. That is awesome, because there are more than 300 children who are experiencing gender dysphoria at this moment. Across this country at this moment, children are experiencing gender dysphoria. It hurts. I experience it as an adult with an adult brain. It hurts. I can't imagine how much pain some of these children are in because of their gender dysphoria. Okay, whew. They are dragging this episode on, and yeah, we're gonna have to make this a two-parter. So I'm going to cut it right here, and we'll come back soon with part 2 of episode 2. Well, until next time, remember, love yourself, but more importantly, like yourself, and treat people the way they want to be treated. Bye-bye for now.